You're looking at a soundbar and it's promising you 11 channel surround sound, immersive experience, helicopters flying over you. That's what you kind of hear in the demo room as well. You know, every premium soundbar company, if you go to, or any of the dealers you go to, they have a special room where they make you hear the soundbar. And you can hear the overhead effects, the surround effects just from one tiny bar. But when you get it home, all those effects are lost somehow. It just sounds as if the helicopter is coming right there from the soundbar itself. It just sounds like a Bluetooth speaker, playing in stereo maybe. What happened? The helicopter isn't flying over you now, it's just stuck there on the TV. Now, that's because of something called phantom architecture. And this is what the soundbars rely upon when they want to create those sound effects, the surrounds, the overheads, all of those channels. When they want to create those sounds, they have kind of a prerequisite for that, what they call a perfect room. And that demo room is exactly that. It's shaped like a shoebox. The dimensions are exactly what they should be according to the manufacturer to get those sound effects. The ceiling is at the right height. There are two walls surrounding the soundbar. They have reflectors at particular positions. And, if you do want to mess around with them a little bit, just move the soundbar a little, see what happens to the sound. Anyway, but all of those things, according to the manufacturer and their specifications on how to lay out that room, that's to the point. You don't have that at your home. You don't have that perfect shoebox design. You don't have perfect ceilings. You might not even have one wall on one side. So forget about perfect walls surrounding the soundbar. Now, the modern soundbars, they don't, create surround channels. You can't create surround channels unless and until you have physical speakers from which sound is coming. You can just simulate those effects by reflecting them off surfaces which can reflect. So that's called beam forming. You basically project a beam of sound and hope that it reflects and reaches the person who is listening to on the other side. And that has to work if all the measurements are exactly as the manufacturer states. There's maybe a 10 to 20% leeway, but not more than that. So some of these things you absolutely need to have, like sidewalls. If you have an open floor plan or you don't have one side of the wall, it won't work. If you have ceiling that's irregular or even a fan for that matter, it won't work. So all of these things, they contribute as to how much these phantom channels affect your surround sound or your overhead immersion. Now, as far as your dimensions go, the first thing is your room dimensions. It kind of has to be rectangular. If it's anything other than that, it won't work. Your ceiling height needs to be 7 to 9 feet. Again, if it's higher or lower, it's not going to work. And everything needs to be reflective, be it your ceiling, be it your side walls. They need to be reflective. There can be nothing that absorbs the sound. If you have anything that absorbs or something which is irregular, again, you need to have surfaces that are smooth and reflective at the ceiling with the proper height and at the side walls, again, with the proper distance. If you go above or below any of these measurements, that effect is lost, essentially. And another thing that the store people do, if you've noticed, a lot of TVs have something called as a store mode, and now the soundbars also have that. So if you put it in a store mode, what it does, it applies an EQ, a VEQ. What it does, it boosts the bass, reduces the mids, and sharpens the high. So this is what is most enticing to any normal ear. They want to hear more bass, they want to hear sharper trebs, and this would entice the customer and then make a better sale proposition for the person who's trying to sell you that soundbar. Moreover, all of these rooms are also deadened. They have a reverberation decay, RT60, of around 0.3 seconds. So all of that bass is accurate, tight, and punchy. And the trebs are sharp, articulate, and detailed. And all of this you won't get at your home. You don't have a specialized room that's acoustically treated. So And also, you have noise as well coming into your room. Now, these rooms where you do listen to with the soundbar, these are completely silent. There's no sound coming inside that room from outside because they're heavily padded. You don't have this in your house. Majority of the people don't, and this entire setup is just not possible. So my verdict for this is, if you are out buying yourself a soundbar, test it at your home if you can. Try to get some kind of a return policy if available. You use it, you don't like it, you can return it in case that's an option. And even if you have to pay the shipping charge, that's okay. Consider it that you've rented it out for a few days. Or if you can't test it out, maybe at your place, test it in a place where it might be a little similar to yours. If you have an open space, test it somewhere in that area which has an open space. Test it over there and see how it feels. And if you do have an open space, you can't just rely on a single soundbar. You will need dedicated surround sound channels. Now, dedicated Atmos channels I haven't seen in a soundbar, but sometimes the surrounds also have upfiring speakers, and they can act as the overhead virtual speakers. So it depends, again, what your space is, but definitely test them out on your own terms rather than going in a specialized box where everything, all the environmental factors are controlled. And yeah, that's my verdict.